Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Matt Radford here with Roofr.com, bringing you the Roofr Spotlight leading up to our Rise, a Roofr Roadshow event. And coming up next week, we're going to be in Toronto with Amanda from Maven Roofing. Hello, Amanda. How are you?
Hey everyone, I'm good, Matt. Thanks. How are you?
I'm great here in Canada. It's not very sunny here. I was going to say sunny Ontario, but it hasn't been sunny here for a long time.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So how's the roofing business in New Jersey these days?
It's phenomenal. We have had ideal conditions for people to get leaks, which is not great
Yeah.
for them, but it's good for us.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
very wet weather, unseasonably wet weather over this past, I would say 6 to 12 months. And going into the spring season, we're definitely gearing up for more rain and just a very busy roofing season for sure.
Yeah, Amanda's the owner of Maven Roofing. She's calls herself the Roof Maven in New Jersey. So Amanda, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into roofing to begin with.
Sure. So I've sort of modified my story a little bit lately because I realized that construction sort of runs in my blood, and I never really explained that well to people
Hmm.
until recently. So I didn't get into roofing until 2020, but I have been surrounded by the construction industry in general since I was a little girl. So both sides of my family actually have construction owners.
Hmm.
And my uncle, who is probably the longest standing entrepreneur in our family, he owns a really high end remodeling company here in North Jersey, and he actually builds all of our decks. So we do roofing, gutters, and deck work. And we will do the sales and design for the decks. And then Frank takes over the actual builds and we do the PM and everything. So my story begins a very long time ago, and then
Hmm.
my aunt on my other side of the family was one of the very few female construction industry professionals for a very long time in Central Jersey. She owned a hardscaping business,
Oh wow.
so I was out almost every summer during my teen years on the job sites with her, working on various properties, doing projects with her. It was a lot of fun. So when I was young, I was involved. And then I went to college because my parents said that you're not going to get into construction. You're going to go do something corporate. So I did that for a while. And then I started my own business in 2016 for human resources consulting, sold that business in 2018, started another company in 2018 for moms and babies, where we sold maternity clothing, nursing clothing, and we were basically a one-stop shop for young families. And then COVID rolls around 2020,
Hmm.
stole my money, had to close my business. I lost about $200,000 of my
Wow.
family's retirement savings. And much like many people who pivoted into roofing over their careers, their back was against a wall, and so was mine.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with the industry in 2020, never looked back. I worked for a master lead installer here for 3 years, sold almost $10 million in roofing, siding, and gutters during that time. Unexpectedly left in 2023 in January. And then I started my business about 8.5, 9 weeks later. So we just went through our first full year, and we're
Hmm.
coming up on our first anniversary of our first sale, which is really cool.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So how did you find it during the pandemic selling roofs? Was it a challenge?
I don't know how it differs compared to pre-pandemic because I
Yeah.
only ever sold roofs during the pandemic and after. So I have nothing really to compare it to. I did not struggle.
Hmm.
It took a little while for me to understand roofing. Like I said, my background wasn't in it. So I consumed all the information on YouTube I could.
Yeah.
Becca and Adam were two huge influences of mine when it came
Hmm.
to learning the industry and just learning what a roof was, and getting into product knowledge. And GIF's learning portal was phenomenal. So I immersed myself probably the first 3 to 6 months in all things product knowledge.
Hmm.
And then sales came really naturally for me. I probably could have sold anything during that period of time, but I just happened to start selling roofs.
Hmm.
And the hardest part, honestly, for me was, and I'm sure a lot of people found this during COVID, was just making people feel comfortable with me entering their home,
Yeah.
because we do a lot of retail sales. We hardly do any storm or restoration work whatsoever. So I always did my best to get inside somebody's house. And yeah, there was definitely hesitation, but I didn't really meet too much resistance. And here we are a few
Did you
years.
Yeah, did you have any trouble generating leads during that time? Did you have to come up with different ways instead of like door knocking and stuff? You know, it was a lot. It was a lot harder to door knock during COVID and even coming out of COVID, right? So, how did you? What marketing channels drove the most leads for you?
So when I started working for the company that I sort of got into the industry with, I was actually in a canvassing role. So I
Oh,
wasn't hired to sell. I started in June of 2020, and then by mid-August, I was in a sales capacity. So when I was actually their marketing director, we did all organic social media. I still to this day don't know how to run Facebook ads, Google ads, any of that. That is so not my forte. Building community and organic lead generation is sort of my MO. And that's what I'll go to the grave saying, that you really don't have to do those paid things when you're starting off, as long as your community engagement is really high. Yes, absolutely throw money into marketing if you don't know how to do that community engagement piece. But if you have any wherewithal on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, all of those are community platforms. And that's really where I focused my time and energy. On the boots on the ground approach that I took, it was leaving actual gifts around the areas that I was canvassing. So I used to put these little bags together, little paper bags like 8 inches tall. And depending on what I was in the mood for to give away, I would do succulents. I would do pumpkins, like the little tiny pumpkins during the October, November timeframe.
yeah,
And I would custom craft these little cards that I'd put with the bags and give my information. And I can't
that's
tell
great.
you how many leads were generated from that,
Yeah,
because they may not have needed a roof then, because remember, this was a retail market. So they might not have needed a roof then. But what I can tell you is in 2020, I gave a woman one of those bags, and she called the company I used to be with, and she heard I wasn't there anymore, but I was still in the industry. And she tracked me down and she called me, and now she's buying a roof from me.
oh, wow.
So they work. So that
Yeah,
was in
excellent.
2020. And now
Yeah,
4 years later, almost 4 years later, we're doing her roof, which is
that's
amazing.
amazing. I did something similar when I was with Bumblebee Roofing. We would give out a free jar of honey and just go around the neighborhood and give out jars of honey with the Bumblebee Roofing logo and the phone number on it, because my theory was like, you buy a jar of honey and it doesn't go bad. It just sits in your
Right.
cupboard forever, right? So every time they open up their cupboard, they would see my Bumblebee Roofing logo
Hmm.
on that jar of honey. So
I
it
love
wouldn't
that
work in my house.
idea.
We go through a jar of honey a week here, so it wouldn't work here. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
Can I
great.
steal that?
What's that? Yeah, you
Can I
could.
steal
Yeah,
that
by all
idea?
means.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
100%. So now, what other marketing channels are you currently using on a daily basis to help promote your business and also increase brand awareness?
So the biggest marketing channel for us is Facebook, and it
Still,
is,
you're still doing Facebook.
oh yeah,
Oh
I would
yeah, okay.
say a solid 75% of our leads come from some form of Facebook,
Wow.
period.
Yeah.
So the biggest one for us right now are moms groups and local community groups.
Hmm.
And the key here, and I teach this during the Rise classes, is to start building what I call a mom army.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily you going out and doing the actual marketing on these groups. It's getting other people who know, like, and trust you to be your advocates and your cheerleaders on these groups.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I very rarely will go on and do any sort of self promotion, if at all. All I'm doing is I'm responding when people tag me.
Yeah.
And I don't just say, oh, thanks for the tag. I'll say thanks for the tag, but then I'll do an actual post relating to that person, the original person's question. So if it's somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I have flooding in my basement because my gutters are overflowing from this recent rainstorm, I'm not just going to tag my business in there. I'm going to say, I'm really sorry that you're having flooding in your basement. As a homeowner myself who recently had to redo my basement because of flooding, I totally understand what you're going through. Here's my contact information. I'm the owner of Maven Roofing. We're local to this town. I can get out there tomorrow. So those are the responses that people really appreciate. And I have won business over other people who were referred in those groups simply because I took an extra 10 seconds and I responded as a human, not as a bot, not a robot, and just pumping out the same content all the time.
Yeah, I got accused of being a bot on a Facebook group the other day because I was promoting Rise in the group, and somebody had commented and accused me of being a bot. And then I replied to the comment, and they still thought that I was a bot, even though I replied. And I was like, no, dude, I live like 45 minutes away from you, man. Like, you want to go out for coffee?
You see my face?
I'm not a bot. Sometimes I wish I was.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's one of the things that we're doing, Matt. And then, I mean, here's a shameless plug for Roofr, but we get instant estimate leads all the time. So you have to remember that there's thousands of people in these local community groups, right? So it's one person who's asking the question, but that person is not the only one who's seeking that information or seeking a referral for a gutter specialist or a roofer. So every time that post happens on a Facebook group, and we're tagged in it, we then have subsequent people that aren't the original poster going to our website, looking at our Facebook page. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, every time somebody makes a post about roofers locally, we get people who go to our website and request an instant estimate. And it's usually not that original person who was asking about us. So we'll see it. Like there might be a 2-minute delay or an hour delay. But without fail, we always have somebody else coming to our website doing an instant estimate after somebody makes a Facebook question.
That's really important because, even going back to the Facebook comments, like you said, there's going to be introverted people out there that might not comment, that just read through the comments and then they see the links and they're the ones that are clicking the links and getting the instant estimator and going through that without even talking to somebody because they don't want to talk to somebody or they can't talk to somebody. Right. So that's fantastic. We had an update today. I'm going to read it if I can here, but there's a client that I onboarded for Roofr about 4 years ago. And I just want to read this feedback because it made my heart happy. Okay. So in 2022, they did $674,000 in sales without the IE. And then with the instant estimator in 2023, they did 1.2 million. And now this year, that's last year, 1.2 million. That's double. This year, they're going to do 3 million in sales using the Roofr Instant Estimator. Yeah, so that's
wow, that's
close to my heart because I remember onboarding Lisa back in, I talked to her in 2021, so she came on board in 2022 with Roofr, and she's been with us for 2 years, and she's on track to go from 674,000 to 3 million in sales using our platform. It's amazing. Yeah.
And is that 3 million directly tied to IE or is it just her general revenue?
No, that's general. But it's a lot of it has to do with the IE. The IE is a big boost in that sales. So she does have other channels too. Now, with that, which channels would you say are the lowest effort for the highest impact? Is it the Facebook? Like you have no effort there. You have your mom army and there's very little effort there, but a high impact? Would that be the biggest one?
I would certainly say that's accurate. Now, if you take Facebook off the table and you're still looking at digital platforms, the next one for us would be Nextdoor. And I credit it's crazy to even think about it. This time, maybe a month from now last year. So sometime in May, somebody recommended us on Nextdoor. I can't remember who it was, but they basically said, "Oh, I'm pretty sure that this new company, Maven, does gutter cleaning." And we did not do gutter cleaning at the time, but I was like, "What the hell? We do gutter cleaning today."
Yeah.
So I gave this guy a ridiculously good price. And we cleaned his gutters and we had no business cleaning his gutters. It was like really dangerous, but we did it and everybody was fine. And he was super happy. And he didn't leave a review right away. It was about 4 or 5 months later. It was right before the fall. He ended up leaving a review on Nextdoor. And that single review generated probably over $100,000 worth of business for us.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and we're still getting people who refer to that guy's review on Nextdoor. So I I always tell people that you might not like to do social media, but you
Yeah.
should, because if
Yeah.
you're not, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah. That's right. Now, do you use Instagram or TikTok or any of those?
Instagram only happens because we have the integration between Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah. Same here.
but I don't really even monitor my comments or anything. My Instagram is a blend of personal and professional. So if you go on my Instagram, you're going to see a whole bunch of my kids' pictures and a lot of my own personal stuff on there.
Yeah.
My Facebook page is only business. So like my Maven Facebook page is only business stuff. And then my personal Amanda Vinot Facebook page is 100% blended between personal and business. And that's another really big tip that I'll give people is your primary Facebook profile should be used for both your personal and your professional if you're
Mhm.
comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Because especially as a smaller company, I would say sub $10 million, you, the owner, really are or should be the face of the company until you get to a point where your salespeople almost have their own recognizable brand.
Mhm.
And that to me was probably the biggest differentiator when I was working for that other company is yes, it helped working for a 40-year-old company in the area. But at the same time, I was selling my brand as Amanda rather than the company more times than not. And people
Yeah.
were doing business with me. They weren't necessarily doing business with the company. So now stepping into that owner role, I've really tapped into my personal brand. And I recommend all people who are in charge of selling something in the roofing industry to have their own persona and personal brand on Facebook.
100%. That's actually how I started out here at Roofr. It was the pandemic, so I had nothing better to do but to sit at a computer and just, make videos and stuff promoting Roofr to the point where people thought that I was the CEO of Roofr.
I swear to God, Matt, in my mind, you were. And when I found out that you weren't, I was like, really?
Yeah, I know. It's great. The sad thing is that some people just stopped talking to me when they found out I wasn't the CEO of Roofr. I'm not
That's
important enough
terrible.
anymore. Yeah, it's all right. People's true colors show through, but yeah,
Richie's
so
not too
it's
bad.
what's that? Richie's not too bad.
I said Richie's not too bad.
Yeah, he's great. He went along with it for a little while. We fooled a few people, and he had some messages and said, "Hey, man, can you introduce me to the CEO of Roofr, Matt?" And Richie'd be like, "Hey, yeah, no problem. I'll hook you up." And it was a good time.
That's amazing.
Sorry, Dimitri. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I don't do the TikTok much either. I'm almost 50 years old, so I don't talk the tick. I
I'm
don't
35 years old and I really could care less about TikTok, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, and same with Instagram. I think I do the same thing as you. It's just linked with my Facebook, so it's all kids pictures and Roofr videos, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hodgepodge.
And I've been asked before, well, what's the secret sauce in terms of the ratio between personal posts and business posts? And I'll be completely honest. The last thing I think a whole bunch of moms in my community who are personally connected to me on Facebook want to see are roofs. But
Mhm.
to be honest with you, they seem to be the most engaged with the construction posts
Oh yeah,
because I think it's one, women love HGTV and renovations and, all home
yeah,
projects. I'm generalizing here, but go with me.
yeah.
So I think when they see pictures of houses and construction, it's just naturally appealing to them. It's not
Mhm.
super exciting, but it's appealing, right? And
Yeah.
then it's how I talk about what we're doing that gets them excited. So, for example, yesterday you may have saw that I posted about a valley that was done incorrectly on a job
Mhm.
that I was inspecting. 20-plus-year-old roof. They're having systemic roof failure all over. And I go up on the roof and I was looking at these valleys and I was like, well, that's probably where most of their leaks are coming from. And their valley was flipped. And instead of just educating people on why the valley was wrong, I asked people to chime in with why they thought the valley was wrong. And I was giving away a $20 digital gift card for anybody who got it right first.
Mhm.
And I had probably 20 people engaging on that post. And 17 of them were non-roofing industry professionals. Two of
Yeah.
them were roofers and they're like, man, I really want to answer this question. My other friend who's an industry colleague, but he's on the insurance side. He's like, oh, I know too much about roofing, but I'm not a roofer, but I won't say anything.
Yeah.
So it's those types of posts that you should be weaving into your strategy and make it fun and appealing and engaging to people. Don't just post it before and after. Honestly, befores and afters get way less engagement than most of my other posts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Now, do you do reels as well? Like, do you make reels and short videos and stuff, video content?
No. Here's the thing. I focus on what I'm really good at, what I like to do, and what I know drives revenue.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time to do other things to see if it works. I'm sure it works. Don't get me wrong. Reels are great, but I don't know if I can take the time out of my day to figure out how to make them great. I'd rather just keep getting greater at what already works for us.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. And you know, I follow John Tucker. He's pretty good with doing the reels and stuff like that too. So
I
it's really
love John's
interesting.
videos.
Oh,
Yesterday he had a great one too.
Yeah, but and it's interesting for me to see how all the different people in the industry do different things, and you know, it's quite amazing. Even up in Canada here, it's quite different how we do things for our retail market than y'all do down in the States. I said y'all. I said y'all, eh?
Even I say y'all in New Jersey because I went to school in Virginia. So
yeah, well, I've actually think I've heard you say a few times. So
have I?
Yeah, I'll try to.
Well, my roots are Canadian. My grandfather's from Nova Scotia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's excellent. My mom lives out in Nova Scotia. That's amazing. Okay, so if you could give one piece of advice to other roofing business owners that either just launched their business or are thinking of opening a roofing business, what would you give them? What would you say to them today?
So behind the scenes, I would say you need to hire your right-hand person before you can afford them. And I'm sure I'm boring some people to death who have heard me speak before by saying that. But God's honest truth, I'm where I am today in our business because of TJ Hopkins, who's our COO. I hired him not knowing how I was going to afford him at first. I was willing to not pay myself in order to pay him because I knew that I needed that type of a person. So if you don't have a right-hand person handling operations, production, all the things that really are super important to the business that are not sales and marketing, because I genuinely believe that the owner is going to be the best salesperson and the best marketer, at least in the very beginning. You can hire either an industry trained ops and production person, or you can hire somebody that's just naturally gifted in ops and production, train them pretty quickly, and then they can grow as you grow the business. Yeah. So I would say the owner focuses on sales and marketing, and then the right-hand person should be on the job sites and being everything else for the business, ops and production wise. So that's my behind the scenes recommendation. My in front of the scenes recommendation is that you really need to focus on growing your circles of influence who already have connections to homeowners in your market. So for me, I was looking for those types of people who could refer me to their clients already that they had. So a lot of times, I was getting really great referrals from HVAC people, electricians, plumbers, other construction industry professionals that didn't do roofing and gutters. They already had those established relationships. And because I had a really strong personal brand and people already knew me, take roofing off the table. They knew Amanda. They trusted me. So whether I was selling a roof or I was selling lawn care, or I was selling a hot water heater, they probably would have still referred Amanda. So that's why I say your brand is so important, especially when you're a brand new business.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So branding, when I was with Bumblebee Roofing, I think that was one of the biggest downfalls that I did was not having that right-hand man. I tried to wear every single hat, and you have to be very careful because burnout is real. If you don't have somebody there, and you have that right-hand person. So if you didn't have the right-hand person, just imagine how much more that that burnout would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And I go through cycles, Matt. I don't know if other people feel this, but I definitely go through periods where I feel like everything is organized and in its place and we're running efficiently and there's no headaches and everything is operating 100% how it should be. And then there's little things that pop up and personal things pop up, professional things pop up. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, I want to go escape to the Caribbean on a cruise
Yep.
solo, which I did.
Yep.
So I go through these periods of burnout and I know that about myself. So that's another really big thing that you have to be aware of is your own cycles that you go through because everybody has their own natural cycles of ups and downs. And I tend to be on like a 3 to 4 month cycle where I'll go. And then I burn out for about a week to 2 weeks where I just want to, I don't actually do this, but I do genuinely just want to hide from everybody and not talk to people and really not perform at all. I do, but then I get through it. And then I begin the next 3 to 4 month cycle of being all on and everything's operating really well.
That's
but
normal.
we're going through that period now where I'm starting to feel burnout and I'm doing a lot. I'm speaking at 2 different Rise events. I'm speaking at a National Women in Roofing event. I did stuff in the fall. We're going into our busy season with roofing. We're trying to decide whether or not we bring on another project manager and another roofing crew because we know we're capable of doing up to a certain point with the team that we have right now. But what we're finding is that my team, particularly TJ and Carlos and Lori, the people who are working with us every day, we're all starting to get maxed out. So now as the owner and the leader of the company, I'm seeing that with my team and I have to sort of step up and say, okay, what are our needs right now? And how can we support the future growth of the business by adding people strategically? So we're eyeing a production manager because if we can bring on another production manager, that means that we can start selling even more, which obviously is the lifeblood of a company.
Yeah. Now, how's the hiring landscape in New Jersey? Is there a lot of talent for you to pull from? Is there a good talent pool?
Not really, not the types of people that I'm looking for. I'm sure that there's lots of people who want jobs, but I'm very particular. We have a very specific brand identity. I'm looking for people who fit the culture of our company really well. And I made a bad hire. I made 2 bad hires actually this year. And I'm very gun shy now about bringing somebody on if I don't feel 100% confident that they're the right person. And we have been interviewing a couple of people for the PM role who have been phenomenal, but the timing wasn't 100% right. It was still a little bit early, but now that we're gearing up for the end of April, beginning of May, I think they'll probably be having an offer come their way, 2 people. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Now you said you were you're speaking at 2 Rise events. Which cities are you? I know you're going to be in Toronto. What's the other city that you're going to be speaking in?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I went there for the first time just a couple months ago, and it is amazing. Such a blue collar city. Have you ever been?
My brother went to school out there. He went to not right by Pittsburgh, but by Pittsburgh, California University of Pennsylvania. So it's called CUP, Cal UP. So yeah, I spent a couple of basketball games out in that area.
Great. My ancestors are from the area, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I got American blood in me as much as you got your Canadian roots. my ancestors were Pennsylvania Dutch, and during the American Revolution, they fled into Canada to stay loyal to the British Empire. So, God save the king. Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm going to put the dates up here. We got Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Hilton Garden Inn. That's April 23rd. So that's next week. And then what was the other one? Where are we here? Pittsburgh,
May 7th.
Yeah, that's at Embassy Suites by Hilton, May 7th. Amanda will be there and she'll be talking on it. You'll be on talking marketing.
Yeah. So diving into that organic marketing strategy that I have, how you can really hone in on using Facebook groups to your company's advantage and really not having to put money in traditional marketing channels.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to seeing everybody there as well. And if you want to get your tickets, I will drop a link in the comments after the live stream ends, and you can go to the link and register there for a city near you. And I'm just going to come up quickly. We have Toronto, Ontario, April 23rd. And then after that, we're going to be in Jacksonville, Florida at the South Bank Hotel, Jacksonville Riverwalk, April 25th. We'll be in Pittsburgh, Embassy Suites on May 7th. And then we have Denver, Doubletree by Hilton, Denver, Aurora, May 9th. And then we have Dallas, again, Doubletree by Hilton, May 21st. After that, we'll be in Nashville. We have to find I don't know if we have a location for that yet. I'll have to look that up, maybe change my banner. But May 23rd,
If you need a
we'll be in
speaker for Nashville, let me know. I love that area.
Nashville. Yeah, I love Nashville. Oh boy, I went there for the first time too a month ago, and man, I play guitar and I sing, like, I like to sing the Johnny Cash tunes and old Hank Williams, and I don't know if you know Stompin' Tom Connor. He's a Canadian guy. I like to sing that kind of music. So Nashville to me was like a dream. So I'm going to try to go a day early because I want to go to the Gospel Music Hall of Fame and the Johnny Cash Museum. So if anybody else is in town that wants to hang out, let me know, because if I can bring roofers with me, then I can get the company to pay for it.
That's amazing.
Don't tell Richie.
Grab some random roofer off of a roof.
I should. Yeah. Hey, come with me. We're going on a date. Yeah. So then after Nashville, we got New Orleans, which I've never been to New Orleans either. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's my birthday, June 4th.
Is it? Nice. So we'll be at Courtyard by Marriott, New Orleans. Is that Metairie? I don't want to say it wrong in my Canadian accent, but I'll say it's Metairie, June 4th. Then we got Chicago, the Hilton Orrington, June 6th, 2024. And that's it. Admission is $25 per person, and that includes cocktail hour afterwards. So looking forward to seeing you there, Amanda. It's going to be a really good time. It's
Same here, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today to talk a little bit about marketing.
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to play my little ditty here, and then we'll get out. Where's my little ditty? All right. We'll see you, Amanda. Take care. Thanks for being on. Yeah.